You scroll Instagram and see another post about scaling to seven figures. You open your email, another promise of exponential growth. Suddenly, your steady little business starts to feel not enough. But what if it is enough? What if more isn't the goal? Let's talk about that. Hey there, and welcome back to Boldly Introverted, the online business podcast. I've been thinking a lot about the constant pressure in this online space, the endless messaging about scaling, growing, expanding. It's literally everywhere. And if you've been feeling a little worn down by it, you're not alone. I know how easy it is to feel like your business is somehow not enough, unless you're chasing seven figures or building a huge team. But here's the thing. That is someone else's definition of success, not necessarily yours, not necessarily mine. In fact, I believe the most powerful businesses, the ones that actually support a life you want to live, often look very different from what the online business world celebrates. So today, we're having a conversation I think more of us need to hear. You do not have to scale to have a successful business. You can choose depth over constant expansion. You can choose a business that feels good to run, one that honors your values, your health, your time, and your relationships. This is about giving you permission and a few practical ideas to build on your terms. Pour a cup of something good and let's dive in. So, what I want to talk about today is the pressure to scale, why it doesn't have to define your success, and how you can build a business that actually fits your life. If you've been feeling worn out by the idea that bigger is always better, or if you've wondered if it's okay to want something smaller and more intentional, this is for you. You don't have to be in this online space for long before the pressure really hits you. Another post about scaling to seven figures, another offer promising a blueprint to double your income, another story about building a big team. And underneath it all, this message that if you're not constantly growing, you're somehow failing. It's subtle sometimes, but it really seeps in. The thing is, scaling in itself isn't bad. Growth can be great when it's intentional and aligned, but when it becomes the expectation, I think that's where the harm starts. We stop asking really important questions like, is this the kind of growth I actually want? Is it aligned with my values? What am I giving up in order to scale? And will this even make me happier? I know many business owners, especially women, who've chased the next level because they thought they were supposed to. They built bigger teams, launched more offers, added more complexity. And somewhere along the way, they lost the thing that made their business feel good to run. They lost their energy, their creativity, and their joy. And that's what hustle culture doesn't tell you. More isn't always better. Sometimes more is just more stress, more moving parts, more distance from the work that you actually love. So if you've ever questioned whether you should be scaling, or if you've quietly thought, maybe I don't want to, I want you to know that you're not alone. It's not weird or small or unambitious to choose a different path. It's wise, and it's a conversation I think we need to be having a lot more openly. One of the biggest shifts for myself and for other women I know has been realizing that success isn't this fixed thing. It's not a revenue milestone. It's not how many clients you have or how big your audience is. It's personal, and it should be. But the online space rarely frames it that way. There's this underlying narrative that if you're not aiming for seven figures, you're somehow playing small. That if you're not constantly adding, growing, scaling, you must not be serious about your business. I personally think that's crazy. Success should feel aligned with your values and the life you actually want to live. For some people, that is building a big company. But for others, it might be working 3 days a week and having time for family or other creative projects. For some, it's a steady, simple business that pays the bills and leaves space for joy. None of those versions are more successful than the others. The key is knowing what your version of enough looks like and what kind of income feels good and sustainable. How do you want to spend your time? What matters most to you? When you start answering those questions, instead of chasing an arbitrary business goal someone else decided was important, things shift. You start building in a way that supports your life, not just your bottom line. And that's where the real freedom comes in. One of the trickiest parts of this whole conversation is that growth feels good at first. You hit a milestone, revenue goes up, you take on more clients, you start thinking, hey, I'm really doing this. And then things move. Suddenly, the number you once dreamed of feels small. You tell yourself, just one more level, one more launch, and then I'll slow down. But here's the catch. If you're not intentional, more just becomes a moving target. You get on a treadmill that's hard to step off of, and you stop noticing what you're giving up along the way. I've seen it happen, business owners burning out because they're chasing a vision they never consciously chose, feeling like they can't say no, that if they stop pushing for more, they're somehow failing. And that's where the trap really tightens, because hustle culture thrives on this kind of thinking. It sells the idea that the next level will finally bring you fulfillment. But without clarity on what enough looks like for you, there's no finish line. There is deep power in knowing when to say, this is enough. This is good. I don't have to keep chasing. Enough income, enough clients, enough time for the things that matter outside of work. When you define that for yourself, you can finally step off the treadmill. You can protect your energy, your creativity, your relationships, and remember why you started this business in the first place. So I'm going to do a quick pause for a moment, because if this conversation about building a business that feels good to run is resonating, I want to let you know about something that I'm really excited about. On August 4th, I am opening the doors to my brand new membership. It's a founding member launch, and you are welcome to join us. This is for tech-hesitant women who want to simplify the back end of their business so you can stop spinning your wheels and start moving forward with more ease. We're going to cover tools, systems, and practical strategies that help you spend less time stuck in the weeds and more time building the business you actually want for the life that you want. No hype, no performative marketing, just grounded support to help you grow on your terms. If that sounds like what you've been looking for, you can get on the wait list now. I'll drop the link in the show notes, and I would love to have you inside. All right, so at the heart of all of this is one simple idea. Your business should serve your life, not consume it. That's really what building a lifestyle-first business is about. It's not about playing small. It's not about being afraid of growth. It's about choosing growth that fits your values and your energy. Growth that feels good, not obligatory. It starts with asking different questions, like, how do I want to live? What kind of work schedule supports my well-being? How much income is truly enough for me? And what do I want my days to feel like? When you answer those questions honestly, you can start designing a business that supports that vision, not the one that the internet keeps pushing. For some, that might mean keeping things intentionally small and simple. For others, it might look like creating high-margin offers that allow more space in their schedule. It might mean working 4 days a week or choosing deep personal client work over mass market programs. The key is intention. You get to decide what success looks like for you, and you get to change that definition as your life evolves. That's the real freedom of running your own business, and honestly, that's the kind of success that's worth building toward. If no one said this to you lately, let me say it here. You do not have to scale to be successful. You don't have to chase someone else's version of success. You don't have to build a business that looks impressive online but completely drains you behind the scenes. You don't have to keep going after more just because everyone else is. You can choose a business that fits your life, not one that forces you to fit around it. You can choose enough. You can choose spaciousness. You can choose alignment. And that choice, it doesn't make you less serious or less ambitious. It just makes you wise. It makes you clear. It makes you someone who knows what matters and protects it. So, as you move forward this week, I'd invite you to ask yourself, what does enough look like for me? What am I building towards? And is it truly mine? How can I create more space in the life I want, not just a bigger business? Permission granted to choose a path that feels right to you, and I'm cheering you on every step of the way. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your story. What does enough look like for you? And if you're ready to simplify the tech side of your business so you can build with more ease, don't forget, the founding member launch for my new membership is coming up on August 4th. You can join the waitlist through the link in the show notes. And as always, if you found this episode helpful, I would be so grateful if you'd take a moment to subscribe and leave a review. It helps more intentional women find Boldly Introverted, the online business podcast, and reminds me that these conversations really do matter. I'll talk to you soon.